All right. I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Racha HaKodash.
All right.
Welcome
I'd like to start
to
off by saying
another lesson. And pretty much in this particular lesson, I want to go over the book of Exodus, the 12th chapter, dealing with the topic of the strangers. Apostle Tahar had mentioned this a while back during the class that we had for the Passover about going over this. And, we've done videos on the strangers before, going to the different particular Hebrew words and how it pertains to Israel in certain places and how it pertains to the nations and others. And how sometimes certain words that are used for the nations themselves actually are applied to Israel, and how certain words that are used for Israel sometimes may be applied to those nations. But overall, when the scriptures speak about the strangers and any benefit that is given unto them, that's dealing with Israelites that were not born in the land. I just finished watching Apostle Tahar's video that he did on Isaiah, the 14th chapter and the 3rd verse, I believe it was, in the Hebrew. And he mentioned again the strangers in Exodus 12, and it brought it back to memory that I had wanted to do a lesson on this. And hey, Shalom Akim. And here it is. So when you read the whole book of Exodus, the 12th chapter, it's dealing with the Passover, which is the Pesach, which just passed not too long ago. It's our highest holy day, of the year, and during this time, when you go back into the land of Egypt, you had the Israelites that night that were keeping this Passover. It was no one else that was keeping the Passover during the night of the Passover but the children of Israel. And that's why they were in the different homes. They had to put the blood on the doorposts and the lintels and all of that, so that when Yahweh Shai came through, he wouldn't destroy the firstborn out of that house. Meanwhile, the nations, or the Egyptians and any other nation that was there, when they woke up in the morning, there was one dead in everybody's home outside of the nation of Israel, And then what the Lord did, as he was giving Moses the breakdown on how to do it, he was given certain laws and ordinances on the Passover, how it's to be kept, when is it to be kept, the particulars of it, the from the beginning, how do you set up the lamb, how do you set up to eat, what do you eat with it, you had the bitter herbs, so he gave the whole scenario of what to do and how to break it down. Now, when you get towards the end of the chapter, as here in Exodus 12 and 43, it says, "And the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof." So this is a strict commandment that no stranger is to eat of this Passover. All right. So now when you look through here and you look at the word, because it says, "And the Lord Yahweh said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance, this is a law of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof." So no stranger is supposed to eat of the Passover. No other nation is to eat of this Passover, because this Passover was only given to us, the nation of Israel, not those nations. The very first Passover, which you're reading about, was only kept by the Israelites. Point blank, period. Now, when you scroll through here into the Hebrew, and you come down here to the breakdown of it, it says, "There shall no stranger," right? You have what? Bun, which we know that the word bun is son. And then now here, nakar. Now, I'll say 99% of the time, when you see this word nakar or nakarya, that is applied to the other nations. So it says Nakar, it says foreign, alien, foreignness, that which is foreign, foreignness, foreign gods, alien, foreigner, foreign vanities, heathendom, alien, stranger, and that's pretty much it. So when you see that word bun nakar or nakaria or bun nakaria, that is that you know that that's dealing with definitely dealing with a heathen, someone of another nation. Now, in certain cases, this word can apply to the nation of Israel, you know, but we know here it's not applying to the nation of Israel. It's applying to the other nations because they can't eat of this. Now, since I mentioned that, Jeremiah 2:20, for of old time I have broken thy yoke and burst thy bands. This is dealing with the Most High speaking to the nation of Israel. And thou saidest, I will not transgress, when upon every high hill and under every green tree thou wanderest playing the harlot. Yet I had planted thee a noble vine. So the Lord planted us a noble vine. That's why we're a peculiar people, a royal people, wholly a right seed. So he gave us the right things to do, which was the law. How then art thou turned unto the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? Now this word here, strange vine, when you scroll down, the word there, strange, is what? Nakaria, which is applied to the nation of Israel in this context, that we became like those strangers. Okay? Foreign, alien, foreign, foreigner, foreign woman, harlot, unknown, unfamiliar. So we became foreign, like those nations. Like Benjamin liked to say, you foreign. We became foreign like those nations. Okay? Now, let's give another example of this word Nakarya being applied to the nation of Israel, because once we became Nakarya or Nakar, which was pretty much became foreigners or strangers, then we pretty much acted and even started looking like the other nations because we were worshiping their idols. And that's what brought us down. Now, this is the book of 1 Kings 8. There's another one, the same thing in Second Chronicles, which is a prayer that King Solomon prayed to the Most High for the nation of Israel if they would have disobeyed the Lord and fell fell into the hands of the other nations. That if they prayed towards this place and prayed to the name of the Lord and prayed for deliverance, that the Lord would deliver them. Right? But now when you scroll through here, right here, 1 Kings 8:41, it says, moreover, concerning a stranger that is not of thy people Israel. So now automatically somebody would read that and think that it's talking about an actual heathen. It says, but cometh out of a far country for thy name's sake, because Israel are the ones that's being gathered for the Lord's name's sake. Because as it states here in the book of Malachi 1:14, but cursed be the deceiver which hath in his flock a male, and voweth and sacrifices unto the Lord a corrupt thing. For I am a great king, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushai of hosts, and my name is dreadful among the heathen. So this particular stranger here that comes from a far country for the Lord's name's sake is not talking about an actual heathen. But what happened was they became foreign, and now what's happening is the Lord is drawing them back, such as is the case in the New Testament when the Apostle Paul, the Apostle Peter, then the Apostle Paul went to the Gentiles or the foreigners, you know, of those lands, which were Israelites that had lost their way. It says, moreover, concerning a stranger. So now when you look at this word stranger here, once again, it uses the word Nakarya. See, the same word that was used here in Jeremiah 2:21, pertaining to the nation of Israel that were planted a holy right seed, a noble vine, but turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine. And the word strange there is Nakarya. So there's times when you could apply the term Nakarya, very few times you could apply the term Nakarya to the nation of Israel. And this is one of them. And I gave you an example here in 1 Kings, the 8th chapter, the 41st verse, that's dealing with the nation of Israel, because the reason why it says that they were not of thy people Israel, because they at one time they didn't call themselves Israelites. They called themselves by the prospective nations of whom they were scattered abroad. This is the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6, and verse 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fast or feasts, supposed to be, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. So if he couldn't call himself a Jew, in this case, what would he have to call himself? A Greek. And that's what the scripture say. There's no difference between a Jew and a Greek. Same thing when they were in among other nations, they were calling themselves by the names of those nations. So they became strange. They became foreign. You know, if they went from being this royal people to acting and becoming like these other nations. And what drew them to that? The worshiping of these idols, which, matter of fact, I'll get that real quick. 1 Corinthians 12, which since it keeps coming up. 1 Corinthians 12:1. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren. So this is the Apostle Paul speaking to his brothers, you know, which are Israelites, right? Let me just get this precept since it's on the brain. All right. So this is the Apostle Paul writing this letter to the Corinthians. Now, an unlearned person or a wacky-tacky Christian would believe that this letter was addressed to white people that lived in Corinth, Greece. No, this was addressed to Israelites in Corinth, Greece that had lost their way, but now were being drawn back into the fold by the words and by the faith that was spoken of in the scriptures. So the Apostle Paul said, now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren. So he called them his brothers because they were his brothers. His bloodline brothers, okay? And he was about to break down the different spiritual gifts that were given. You know, it says, I will not have you ignorant, because these gifts were not only given to the Jews, they were also given to those other Israelites that were scattered abroad. No, that's why he had to go out and draw them out from among them, so that the Lord could draw his elect from among them. Ye know that you were, past tense, Gentiles. Why? Because at one time you were calling yourself a Greek, because it wasn't lawful for you to profess yourself to be a Jew. And some of them that have been scattered among the other nations were calling themselves by those prospective nations. They weren't calling themselves Jews anymore. So it says, you know that you were Gentiles, past tense, carried away unto these dumb idols. This is what caused you to become strangers or foreigners or Gentiles, even as you were led, because you were led by these things. You know, the alluring way that they kept it, and the way that they sacrificed unto it, and how they paraded the different statues around, and how they reverenced the different gods, and the way that they burnt their sacrifice, and the way that everything went down, that allured you and tricked you, and you went and dealt with them. It's just like a woman that has a husband that gets allured by another guy. You know, he has, you know, he probably goes to the gym. He has a six-pack, you know, he's all chiseled up. He might wear a tank top. His words might be real smooth and slick, you know, and at first she's like, no, I can't, you know, I got a man. And then he keeps talking to her and keeps talking to her, and eventually he convinces her to lay down with him. Then once she lays down with him, she becomes an adulteress. He allured her. That's the same thing with these different idols. These different idols are alluring, you know, and that's why the Most High gets jealous, because we are his wife. And when he sees us dealing with those idols, he gets jealous. So when he put us out of that land, he turned his face from us. We became foreigners or strangers to our land, to our heritage, to our language, to everything. Got a couple of precepts here. Wow. Oh my goodness. Brother Micah Allah from LA, Acts 2:5, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. And that's what it was. You had Israelites that were coming from all these different nations, that the Jews in Jerusalem were calling foreign, but they were Israelites. So lucky for that. Next one, Yahushai Noah, Ephesians 2:12, that at that time you were without Yahushai, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without the Most High in the world. Why? We're reading it in Corinthians, that they were led away by these dumb idols. The brother, believe the brother's name is Nawad, if I'm not mistaken, from GMS North Carolina. Tobit 13:3, confess him before the Gentiles, ye children of Israel, for he hath scattered us among them. Right. So when we're confessing it among these nations, we're really confessing it to draw out the Israelites that are among them. Just like it says in John, the 7th chapter, in the 35th verse. Christian Sickle, for as the rain cometh down, snow from heaven returns not thither, but water the earth, make it bring forth bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater. I don't really understand why he put that, but which the words of the Lord are being fulfilled, and this is the reason why, because the Lord is drawing out his men from among them. KDC, First Maccabees 1:11, and those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. Yep. Jeremiah 3:1, they say, if a man put away his wife, and sheep go from him, the GMS Solemn Assembly, and become another man's, shall he return unto her again? Shall not that land be greatly polluted? But thou hast played the harlot with many lovers, yet return to me, saith the Lord. Yeah, so that land becomes polluted. So when that man lays with that woman and injects his sperm into her, she's polluted. Same thing when Israel bows down to these idols, they become polluted. You know, Brother Michael again, Proverbs 6:24, to keep these from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of the strange woman. That's right, because these philosophies are alluring. Brother Barak Abar, Hosea 1:12, the beginning of the word of the Lord by Hosea. And the Lord said unto Hosea, go, take unto thee a wife of whoredom and children of whoredom, for the land hath committed great whoredom, departing from the Lord. And how did they depart from the Lord? By worshiping these different idols. All right. So that's it on that. Now the last one I want to get here real quick is Psalms 106, and just bear with me till I find the actual verse. 30. I'll start at 34, 106 and 34. Psalms 106, 34. They did not destroy the nations concerning whom the Lord commanded them, but were mingled among the heathen and learned their works. And they served their idols, which were a snare unto them, which was a trap. Yea, they sacrificed their sons and their daughters unto devils, and shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and of their daughters, whom they sacrificed unto the idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with blood. Thus were they defiled with their own works, and went a-whoring with their own inventions. Therefore was the wrath of the Lord kindled against his people, insomuch that he abhorred his own inheritance. He avoided them, and he gave them into the hand of the heathen, and they that hated them ruled over them. And you could read on the rest of it. You know, it goes into a lot of good information, or good history. All right. So going back to Exodus 12. You know, so now we see how the name Nakar or Nakaria can be applied to an Israelite in regards of them going after these idols. But the majority of the time when you see this, is talking about the other nations. Now we know that the Israelites were the only ones that kept the Passover, because there were no strangers there that were keeping the Passover, just Israelites. The point of it is right here, the 43rd verse. And the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. So these other nations will not eat of it. And the word stranger, ban nakar, which is an actual stranger. All right. And then you read on, it says, but every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. Why? Because you had certain Israelites that became tributary or became indentured servants. And then if they weren't circumcised before they could eat the Passover, they had to be circumcised. Okay. It says a foreigner and an hired servant shall not eat thereof. Now this foreigner here and this hired servant is talking about of the other nations. So you have the word here, foreigner, which is the word thawashab, sojourner, stranger. This is an actual stranger. And then this, a dweller but not outlandish, especially as distinguished from a native citizen and a temporary inmate or a mere lodger, resident, alien, foreigner, inhabitant, sojourner, stranger. So this is talking about an actual stranger. But once again, there's certain scriptures where you can apply this to Israel, because remember, Israel became foreign, you know? And I'm going to give you one example on that, where they became foreign. This is the book of Leviticus 25. And I believe it's 35. Yep. It says, and if thy brother be waxen poor, this is talking about the Israelite, and fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him. Yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. See? So a stranger here is the word gar, you know, and a sojourner, thawashab. This is the word for an actual stranger. So he became strange. Why? Because he wouldn't have been around you. So if he happened to come around you in that strange state and he fell in decay with you, you're supposed to take care of him because he's still an Israelite. You know? All right. So now that's just to give you an example that Israelites sometimes can be used. These names or these terms could be used upon Israel. But when it talks about here in Exodus the 12th chapter that a foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof, this is talking about an actual heathen. Okay? An actual heathen. Hired servant. Okay, so now, moving on. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall you break a bone thereof. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. See, so only the congregation of Israel is supposed to keep the Passover, not the other nations. It says, and when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to the Lord. So now anybody that has no understanding of the scriptures, they're going to be confused because they're going to be like, man, can you eat this? Can the strangers eat it or can they not? And the reason why is because they don't understand that the English doesn't do the Hebrew any justice. No, that's why you have to go back to the original writings to see what was there. So it says, and when a stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it, and he shall be as one that is born in the land. Why? Because he became a stranger because he wasn't born in the land. He was born outside of the land. For no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. Now, when you go to the word stranger, the word there is gar, which the word gar means a sojourner. Sojourner, a temporary inhabitant, a newcomer lacking inherited rights, of foreigners in Israel, though conceded rights. So these were Israelites that didn't have rights in the land of Israel because they weren't born there. They were born somewhere else. Okay, it's simple if the Spirit is working with you. So this particular stranger, he could eat of the Passover. The only criteria was that he had to be circumcised, him and all the males of his household, because when Israel went among these nations, it was customary for them to stop keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. And part of the law, statutes, and commandments that they would not keep was being circumcised because the heathens didn't circumcise themselves. It says, one law shall be unto him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. So pretty much, you can't discriminate against an Israelite that was born in a strange land, because there's only one law to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. So it's going to be all one law. The Israelite that was born in Jerusalem has to be circumcised. The foreigner or stranger that is born outside of Israel has to be circumcised. All right. And matter of fact, when you look up in here, when a stranger, gar, shall sojourn, gawar, which is the word sojourn is the word gar also. All right. Then in Exodus 12:50, thus did the children of Israel as the Lord commanded Moses. I'm sorry, not 50, 49. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Now you look through here for the word stranger, gar, and sojourner, gawar, which is a derivation, or if I'm saying the word correctly, of the word gar. It's the same word. It's just an extension of it. All right, or another way of saying it. All right. So pretty much these strangers in the book of Exodus, the 12th chapter, the ones that could eat the Passover were Israelites that were born in strange lands. The ones that could not eat the Passover were actual heathens. Okay. And the reason why I wanted to go and deal with that, the fact that Israelites can be called by these different terminologies that are applied to the heathens, is because at one time Israel became foreign. And that's where the confusion comes in when you read the New Testament and it speaks about the Gentiles being saved. It's talking about the Israelites that became foreign or strangers to their laws, to their commandments, to their heritage, to their customs, to their language, that were being brought back into the fold. Because like the scriptures say here in Romans, the 11th chapter, in the 26th verse, it says, and so all Israel shall be saved. As it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. So Yahushua took away the sins of Israel, but this time the blood really only rested on the elect for now. But when the 2/3 are destroyed, they're going to come back through the elect that have that blood. So they're going to be all right in the kingdom. See? So all Israel shall be saved, whether they're saved in the first go around or they're saved in the kingdom. Okay? So that's it, you know? And if you understand those basic principles of the stranger and Gentiles and all that, then you understand how the Gentiles in the book of in the New Testament that salvation was promised to are Israelites that became foreign. You see? And then you read the book of Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, which the brother posted, a couple of verses were posted, that breaks the whole thing down on how the Lord is breaking down that middle wall of partition, bringing back together the different tribes and the different Israelites that were scattered abroad, as the Lord said that he would do. Matter of fact, let me get that real quick. In the book of Nehemiah, the 1st chapter, the 7th verse, we have dealt very corruptly against thee, and have not kept the commandments, nor the statutes, nor the judgments which thou commandest thy servant Moses. Remember, I beseech thee, the word that thou commandest thy servant Moses, saying, if you transgress, I will scatter you abroad among the nations. But if we return unto me, and keep my commandments, and do them, though there were of you cast out unto the uttermost part of the heaven, yet will I gather them from thence, and will bring them unto the place that I have chosen to set my name there. So the Lord is gathering Israel. And how is he doing it? Right now, he's only gathering the elect. But in the kingdom, all Israel will be gathered. But right now, the elect are being gathered by the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Let me get that. Let me leave you with that. This is the book of Baruch. I'll just go straight to the 5th chapter and start at 1. It's pretty short read. Put off Jerusalem the garment of mourning and affliction. Why? Because we're in heaviness. And put on the comeliness of the glory that cometh from the Most High forever. Cast about thee a double garment of the righteousness which cometh from the Most High. Why? Because we turned our back on the Lord, and the Lord cast us off. We became strange. We had on those filthy garments, you know, of the nations and the different nationalities and all that. So it says, cast about us a double garment of the righteousness which cometh from the Most High, because the righteousness is coming down from the Most High to put upon the nation of Israel, to clean them up from being strangers. Matter of fact, I had another precept that came to mind, but I can't think of it right now. But this is good. For Hosea 8:8, Israel is swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure. Whereas one time they were a royal vessel, now they're like a vessel of no honor. Right? But now the Lord is casting that beautiful garment. The scripture just came back. And now we're starting to shine again like the Israelites are supposed to. Isaiah 52:1. Awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion, put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city. For henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean, because the Lord is going to deliver us. So the beautiful garments represent what? This knowledge, this truth. And this is what cleanses us. Oh, wait a minute. Hold it now. This is what cleanses us from the filth of this world. Psalms 119:9. Wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way? By taking heed thereto according to thy word. See, so the words of the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai is what cleanses us. That's why it says here in Baruch 5:2, cast about thee a double garment of the righteousness which cometh from the Most High, and set a diadem on thine head of the glory of the everlasting. And what's the diadem? This knowledge. That's why it says that and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. It says that the Lord will feed thee, will just give you well, let me get it real quick. I can't get the quote. The Lord will feed us, Jeremiah 3:15. And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding, because this knowledge and understanding is what's polishing us to make us become righteous again, make us become clean again. For the Most High will show thy brightness unto every country under heaven, because right now the Lord is polishing us, taking us from that heathen state and polishing us and making us to shine, you know, as precious stones. You know, and rubies and diamonds and you know, or rubies, or basically just precious stones, gold and silver. All right. This is the book of Malachi 3:16. Then they that feared the Lord spake often one to another, and the Lord hearkened and heard it. And a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared the Lord and that thought upon his name. And they shall be mine, saith the Lord of hosts, in the day when I make up my jewels. And I will spare them as a man spareth his own son that serveth him. And that's what the Lord is doing right now. He's making us to shine like gold. At one time we were lying among the pots, as the scriptures say. But the Lord is cleaning us up now. You know, it's like if you find a crown of gold that's buried somewhere in the dirt. When you see it, it's going to be all. You're going to see it. It's of value, but you're going to see that it's all stained, you know, or all muddied up. You know, so you got to clean it, you got to polish it and bring it back and bring back that glow that it once had. You know, you had to clean all the crevices out, and that's what the word is doing. And then once you finish cleaning that crown up and you look at it again, it's like, wow, you know, it's shining again. So it says back in Baruch 5:3, for the Most High will show thy brightness unto every country under heaven, for thy name shall be called of the Most High forever, the peace of righteousness. Why? Because Yahweh Shai became our peace between the Heavenly Father and us. So we're going to be the peace of righteousness forever, and the glory of the Most High's worship. Arise, O Jerusalem, and stand on high, and look about toward the east, and behold thy children gathered from the west unto the east by the word of the Holy One. Why? Because we're in the western hemisphere, and this is where we're being gathered. And this is where that filthy stranger, Gentile, heathen, foreigner way that we had was pushed off of us, and now we're being brought back into shining again, being Israelites again, reclaiming our heritage again, rejoicing in the remembrance of the Most High. And we rejoice in the remembrance of him. Why? Because he gave us his name, and he opened up our minds to understand this truth, and we understand of things that are coming up. We understand about the prophecies. We understand that we're going to receive the kingdom. We understand that we're not just niggas and spicks, that we're not heathens, that we're really Israelites, you know. And there's a lot that goes with that. It says, for they departed from thee on foot, and were led away of their enemies. But the Most High bringeth them unto thee exalted with glory. Because we're going to go back to the kingdom. You know, Lord's will, we be the hopeful elect. We're going to go back to the kingdom in style, baby. We're going to go back in style, man. You talking about some goddamn Bugatti and, you know, them different cars and different jewelry that Jake wears today, you know, blinging and all that. Man, that's whack. The way we're going back to Jerusalem is going to be in style, man. You're talking about a chariot and the glorious chariot that nothing on the earth can compare. The baddest whip on the earth can't compare to it. The baddest airplane or the baddest stealth bomb, whatever, can't compare to it. As children of the kingdom. Why? Because we're being brought back. And the ones that make it to the chariots are going to be shipped, so to speak, for lack of better words, to Jerusalem in style, man, as the children of the kingdom. Because as you go up into the chariots, and the chariots are going back to the east, when Israel comes back down, it's going to be the chariots delivering the children of Israel, the elect, to the kingdom as the children of the kingdom. And the children of the kingdom are not going to go and they're tattered and torn. You know, they're going to be looking clean. They're going to be looking right. For the Most High hath appointed that every high hill and banks of long continuous should be cast down. And these nations and their governments are going to be cast down because they're exalted now. They're looked at as being great, and the valleys filled up and to make even the ground, that Israel may go safely in the glory of the Most High, because we're going to be exalted above all these different nations. Moreover, even the woods and every sweet-smelling tree shall overshadow Israel by the commandment of the Most High. Everything's going to get back its beauty, man. It's going to get back its strength. The earth itself is going to get back her strength. For the Most High shall lead Israel with joy in the light of his glory, with the mercy and righteousness that cometh from him. You know, so that's pretty much what we're waiting for the Lord to raise us up and to get us out of this condition that we're in. You know, so that's how we lost, when we lost our heritage and we lost our way. That's what made us strange. That's what made us Gentiles and heathens. And now that the word of the Lord shined upon us, now we're getting back that glory and polishing. You know, we're being polished now. You know, and eventually, once the elect go into the chariots, they're going to be brought in glory to the kingdom of heaven. Man, that's going to be a sight. All right. So with that, pretty much, you know, yeah, that's right, brother. Atazawam, the styling, profiling, limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun. Yeah, that's right. That's right, man. It's gonna be beautiful, man. It's gonna be a sight to see, you know. All right, so with that, you know, brothers, you know, that's pretty much all I have. I just wanted to hit the point on the strangers, you know, that eat the Passover are Israelites. The strangers that don't eat the Passover are the heathens that cannot eat it. And an Israelite that was a foreigner or a stranger, before he could eat it, he has to be, him and his males of his house have to be circumcised before they could eat it. All right. So with that, you know, I hope you brothers have been edified. To the next time I say shalom.